Still Loading podcast is brought to you by the wonderful people on Patreon. Amazing people like Sang H, Mike from the Old Switcheroo podcast, Parallax Puddles, Red from the Kaito and Red Show, Melissa S., Ryan K., Matt aka Stormageddon, Doug from the Nostalgia Marcanon podcast, Pib Extra, Kevin from the Bit by Bit Foundation, Stephen P., Gilmer, and Mr. Biscuits have all been wonderful enough to support the show over there. So if you would also like to get your name read at the beginning of an episode, along with a bunch of other goodies, go over to patreon.com/stillloadingpod and check out everything it has to offer. On this episode of Still Loading, you can never have too many balls. Pokeballs. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the Still Loading podcast. I'm your host, Josh Koval, and today's episode, it's an anniversary episode, but not my anniversary. No. Actually, it's going to be kind of close now that I'm thinking about it. When do I have this episode coming out? This might actually be close to like my 12th anniversary. I don't know. But no, this is not for my show's anniversary. It's for the anniversary of a very seminal game, a game that a lot of us had played. It is for the 10th anniversary of the mobile game Pokémon Go, if you couldn't tell by the title. And side note, this is extremely close to my 12th anniversary. It's only a couple weeks after the 12th anniversary of the podcast. That's crazy to think about. But joining me to Pokemon Go to the polls, just talk about Pokemon Go and all things related to it. My good buddy, it's been a while since he's been on the show, Jared from Play Along Podcast. Jared, how are you doing today?
Josh, I'm doing so good, man. It is good to be back. I always love talking about Pokemon. Pokemon Go specifically is a very important Pokemon game, which we will get to eventually. But yeah, it's been a minute. I think the last time I was on here, we talked about Paper Mario. Thousand Year Door was that the last one?
Yeah, Thousand Year Door, which was Mario Month last year, 2025's Mario Month. Because this year I went back to the classics and I did 1, 2, 3 World and Island, Yoshi's Island. So yeah, it's been a year and a half since you've been on the show.
Dang, that's crazy, man. Time flies. Time is a flat circle.
It is kind of crazy too, because you were on an episode with Stefan Reese for The Wizard like 3 years ago now, and Stefan is going to be, spoiler alert for people who don't know yet, Stefan's going to be coming back on the show later this year, which is exciting. So it's going to be returning guests all around.
Dang, that's crazy. And an episode and a recording I constantly look back on fondly. Watching The Wizard and talking to you guys about The Wizard was such a fun time. Gosh, that was a wild movie.
It's such a fun movie, man. It's so wild. But yeah, so we're here to talk about Pokemon Go, though. It's a super important game. It's 10 years old, which is hurting my brain to think about. That game is a decade old. Just to get it off at get it out of the way at the top of the episode. It's important to address something with this game, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because this game, as much as there is a downside to this game, I want most of this episode to be a celebration of it. But we can't talk about the game unless we talk about the negative, the kind of the controversy more within the last year of it. For those who don't know, Niantic sold Pokemon Go. Well, sorry, Niantic split its company into two divisions, the games division and then their essentially geospatial AI division. And they sold the games part of their company to Scopely. Scopely is owned by the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. And then to add insult to injury, Saudi Arabia, that's a controversial thing right there, just because that country's government is littered with human rights violations. And so the profits of that game are going to this is not me poo-pooing on people who still play it. If you still play it, there's no judgment coming from me. It's just, it bums me out. And I don't want the whole episode to be negative stuff. So I want to talk about
Yeah.
genuinely something pretty serious at the top here, and then we'll get on to the more happy stuff. But the other side of this, the other side of this shit coin, is that the company that split off from it, the non-game side of it, Niantic Spatial, sold all the data they got from Pokemon Go, from the users of Pokemon Go, to military contractors, all the geospatial data.
Oof.
So our Pokemon Go data that we've been giving to the company for free since 2016 was sold to help kill people, and then the game is being run by is the profit of a game is going directly to a country that has human rights violations that also kill people. So it's kind of a bit of a bummer to start off. I don't know why I led with this. I just want to kind of get this, not to say get it out of the way, not to like diminish or
Sure.
downplay the severity of it, but it is kind of a bummer because the rest of this episode is going to be a lot more lighthearted, but I wanted to at least get that out off the top.
Yeah, I think it's good to, at least bring up and address and talk about it, because it's a conversation and it's the things that are happening with the media, whether it's our games and Pokemon Go specifically, right there. There is still companies behind these, and some companies are making poor decisions with their IPs that they have acquired. So I think it is good to at least like address it and come on here and talk about it too, because Pokemon Go's in the news and the zeitgeist right now because of these situations that are happening.
Yeah. And like, I just didn't know a better time to bring it up, because like, wouldn't it be, to me, it'd be more weird to be happy go lucky and then, by the way, this fucking shit, and then back to happy go lucky.
Sure.
It's more just to cover all the base, like to the nuance of it. And honestly, it's a very conflicting emotion, because I played a shitload of Pokemon Go in 2016, as did a huge chunk of the population, both the hardcore gaming audience and otherwise. And I even played it years later, like a number of years later, periodically just walking around and just hunting Pokemon. And I have a lot of fond memories of it. So it is kind of a bittersweet thing, but we can talk about the good stuff. There's a lot of good things about this game, both in terms of the mechanics of the game and the communal aspects of the game, which we'll all get into. So now that we've gotten the heavy stuff, we've addressed the elephant in the room. We can talk about some of the happier stuff. So I want to turn it over to you, Jared, for your personal memories of this. Like when you first got into the game, like some of your earliest memories playing it. What's your recollections and nostalgia and memories surrounding Pokemon Go?
Yeah, I mean, I was there day one. I was there in Pokemon Go when it launched on July 6th of 2016. And I remember the hype cycle. I remember the whole idea of like having Pokemon on your phone, right? This is before a time where Nintendo was like actively putting apps and their IP outside of Nintendo consoles, right? So this was a big deal for Pokemon to be on mobile, on iPhones and on Android was kind of a huge deal. And I remember you could sign up for like the closed beta, and I got into the closed beta beforehand. So like a couple months before Pokemon Go launched, I got to try it out and walk around, and compared to what it is right now, is a very rudimentary version of what Pokemon Go is today. There was obviously only the first 150 or so Pokemon. I don't even think they were all there at launch.
They weren't. They weren't all there.
Yeah, exactly. So I loved kind of being early in that and being able to play it early, and then jumping in day one. And man, the Pokemon Go craze just hit everywhere immediately. It was so many people got outside. I have a fun anecdote. My co-host for my podcast, Kai, he's my cousin. Him and his parents were out in the eastern Sierras of California, up in the mountains, very plugged away from society, very outside of society for a couple weeks, just on vacation. And they came back around the time that this launched, and they were like confused because like society felt like it legit had changed, because so many people were outside playing Pokemon Go that like people were getting hit by cars trying to catch Pokemon. And like, it was a problem. It was a real problem early on, but it was just this community aspect. And especially with Pokemon too, like I think to this day, I still like Pokemon kind of bridges generations, where it really is for everyone. They have E for everyone, but it really is for everyone. And seeing people be more active because of this was something I don't see we had seen like a video game do and impact people's day-to-day life as much as when like Pokemon Go launched. So it was funny. I was walking around because obviously I was like, let's go play Pokemon. They also are very outdoorsy, so they like to walk around. And it was funny just them being baffled and looking at their faces like, what? Is there like an event going on? Why are there so many people out here? It's kind of crazy. And I was like, it's Pokemon Go, baby. What are you gonna do?
Dude, it really that like that summer, the summer of 2016.
Yes, dude,
it felt like that was the summer before so much changed in our world.
Yeah, for sure.
Not to bring I'm not going to stick to the topical stuff too much, but like a certain orange one who shall not be named, that was the year they came to power, and the world has not really been the same since, or it has not felt the same, at least to us millennials. That's an understatement for sure.
Yeah.
But like that was the summer before all that happened. So like it was like, it's such a weird thing because that summer was such a high note on a lot of different things. And for I can't speak for everyone, but for me on a personal level, like this summer was the year I proposed to my wife, my then girlfriend, now wife. Sorry, my ex-girlfriend, now wife.
I love that. I've never thought to put it that way, but that's hilarious.
I stole that from Scott Aukerman from Comedy Bang Bang. He always talks about his ex-girlfriend Kulop, which is his wife now.
His wife. Yeah. Technically ex-girlfriend, not girlfriend anymore.
Yeah, she's not my girlfriend anymore. She's my ex.
Yeah.
My ex-girlfriend, but now wife. But yeah, it was in fact after a Pokemon Go outing in Philadelphia with my wife and a bunch of friends that like I didn't propose to her there, but it was like after that I was like, man, I had such a good time with this, and it really just kind of solidified my relationship with her. So Pokemon Go holds a very special place in my heart for that, but also just like I remember living with former original co-host of the podcast, Justin. I lived with him and another friend of mine, Micah, and we would walk around parks all over the place that summer. And I remember the local park near us was packed with people, just packed. I had a route that I would take too. There was like 2 parks that I would hit because I could like walk up and down within everything was within walking distance. And just seeing people out and about, all different age ranges, all different like walks of life, just every single person and their mother was playing Pokemon Go. And what a freaking time, man. Because it just I missed that. Yeah. And I don't think there's ever going to be something like that. I shouldn't say like that again, because you never would have predicted Pokemon Go. Who knows what it's going? I don't know what the next Pokemon Go is going to be. What's going to get that much of a communal effect on the world as Pokemon Go did for that summer, the summer of 2016.
It's I don't want to be dramatic, but in my mind it was like this utopia moment where it's just like you walk around and people are like saying hi to each other and they're happy, and there's more people out and people are like being more active that weren't very active before. And it was the area that I visited a lot was like a little shopping center, so there was always a lot of people there anyways. And then when this dropped that summer, it was packed with people. I live close to the beach too, so people are like always out. People are like always out and about, and those busier areas also had more Pokestops to them too, so we can hit a lot of stops. We can do like gyms and everything, so there were constantly people surrounding these areas. It's funny because this time in my life also is fun for me because I think earlier this year I had proposed to my wife and we were like wedding planning because we got married.
What year did you get married?
2017, June 2017.
I was gonna say, if my wife and I got married in 2018, so I was gonna be like, man, if we got married the same year, that's fucking weird.
That'd be crazy. No, we got married the following summer, but we were kind of in the planning process and everything. Now I might have proposed in 2015, so it might have been like 2 years that we were at planning, but we were still in this moment too. But yeah, man, the early Pokemon Go, I already love Pokemon, and as a child, I probably was playing Pokemon Go before it was a thing. I was walking around like throwing rocks at birds, pretending they were Pokemon and trying to catch them.
Like the first episode of Pokemon with Ash throwing a rock at Spearow.
Yeah, exactly. Getting chased away by birds. But it was very surreal. It was very surreal seeing this thing that's very important to me uh have this much of a cultural impact. Like Pokemon
Mhm.
Go was on the news. People were talking about it in a way that people had not talked about video games before, which was crazy.
I think what's just so crazy about it is that it impacted so many things outside of the game sphere as well. It
Yeah.
like businesses advertised that they were Pokestops. They would be like, "Hey,
Yes.
we're a Pokestop. Come hang out, play Pokemon Go, and buy our food, or come to our cafe."
Yep.
Or like, if it was a bookstore, come hang out at the bookstore, or
Yep.
whatever it may be. Like, businesses would actively advertise that they are Pokestops. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy thing, but it was that much of a cult, had that much cultural cachet. I also think that like Pokemon is such a unique IP. It's one of the obviously I had to have you on for this because I know you're a giant Pokemon fan.
Yeah. I love
So
Pokemon.
I had to have you on for this one. But like something that I think is so unique about Pokemon as a franchise, as an IP, is it's been consistently popular since it released. But if
Hmm.
you really think about it, it's had two moments of fever pitch
Yeah.
popularity. Pokemania in the late
Yep.
90s, early 2000s, and then Pokemon Go. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, they've been extremely popular, consistently popular for decades. It's never really waned in popularity, and like you said, it
Yeah.
appeals to so, cross generation. It
Yeah.
is a evergreen franchise that has appeal in multiple generations, both young and old. And the fact that it got two bites at that fever pitch, like the two bites of the apple of just like pure cultural dominance, like pop
Yeah.
culture dominance, is insane. And on top of that, nearly 20 years apart from each other.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually,
I would
about
even
20 years apart from each other.
Yeah, yeah, actually. I mean, I would even say now, I mean, I think that, right, card collecting has always been a hobby that people do, but I think now more than ever we're seeing cards, Pokemon cards and collecting skyrocket where people are
Mhm.
jumping in to the field and jumping into the hobby for that for the chance at making big money because these cards are going for like hundreds and thousands of dollars, which is
It's
also
crazy.
crazy too. It's crazy, insane. It's insane to see cards that like I like touched with my greasy like Cheeto fingers as a kid go for like $400,000, and I'm just like, oh, my heart,
Dude,
my
I have
heart.
it's not a first edition, but I have an original holographic Charizard still from my
Oh,
childhood.
oh,
I'm
so good.
It's not in like the greatest condition, but I
Sure.
got it. Now I will say, full disclosure, for me at least, I am a Pokemon Luddite, or whatever you want to call it. Like,
Mm,
I know really only the original 150. I think we talked about it
sure.
when we did our Get Wrecked episode for Play Along,
Yes, because
where
we
I
talked
did
about
Pokemon
Pokemon. I had
Crystal,
you
or
still
like
Crystal, yeah.
you did Gravity Rush, I did Pokemon Crystal, and I don't know if I think I said it on that episode where like anything past the original 150, I have so little knowledge of.
Yeah.
It's bad, dude. Like, and I know like the starters for like, it's Totodile, Cyndaquil, and
Mm.
Chikorita, but outside of that and that stupid, is it Hoot Hoot, the owl or whatever it is?
Oh, I love Hoodoo. He's great.
Like, outside of those, outside of the early Pokemon in that starting area, Spinarak was another one. Um, I don't remember much of the other ones. So like, as Pokemon Go evolved and changed over the years, and they added new Pokemon.
Involved.
Evolved. When I've gone on now, I'll get Pokemon. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this is. I have no concept of half of them.
Yeah. Did you, as again, as new Pokemon started to kind of flush their way in, did you see some of the newer Pokemon as like a way of pulling interest towards the app? And you're like, oh, here's I can like experience these creatures I've never experienced before. Or did it start to like separate where you're just like, this is becoming less and less the Pokemon that I know?
It became the latter, which is
Yeah.
not the game's fault. Like, that's a
Sure. No,
hundred
of
percent
course.
on me. And I wish I also think there's an element where like everything past the first gen
Yeah.
artistically feels different. I'm not saying bad.
Yes.
I'm not
No, for
saying
sure.
bad by any stretch, but like Cyndaquil, Chikorita, and Totodile look like they look so different than
Yeah.
Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
even though they're all supposed to be these cute Pokemon. And I think that's part of it is like they became almost more cute after the first gen.
Mm,
I can't say for all of them. Like I said, I don't know all, and I don't even remember all original 150. I know a lot of them. Like if I saw them, I would recognize them, but I wouldn't remember them
yeah,
all off the top of my head.
yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, it's a bummer. I will say though, even though it kind of pushed me away, it was fun
Mm,
seeing some of the new ones that
sure.
like, oh, this design's kind of cool. Oh, I
Yeah.
kind of like that one a little bit. Um, I enjoyed that well enough. But it is interesting seeing the evolution of Pokemon Go as it changed. So some
Yeah.
of the fun facts that I have, some of the development history, there's a lot actually on this
Mhm.
game. There's a lot out there that you can find. But the origins of this game began as an April Fool's Day prank
It's the
for Google
Google.
Maps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Google Maps, I remember that.
Yeah, in 2014, they made a video featuring a fake competition where people could go out and find Pokemon Go in the world map type of thing in Google Maps. Um, and it caught that little like April Fool's thing caught the eye of Niantic president John Hank. Uh, Now John Hankey or Hank, I'm just going to say Hank. He's an interesting guy because he was actually the head of Google Maps for a while, as well as Google Earth,
Mm,
prior to becoming the head of Niantic. He founded a company called Keyhole, which Google bought, and the stuff that Keyhole did, it was like geospatial technology, eventually became Google Earth. And then obviously he became really involved with Google Earth and Google Maps because of all that
yeah,
once Google kind of combined all that stuff. Um, and then he spun Niantic off into an independent company. It was Niantic was kind of part of Google for a little while,
yeah,
and then he spun it off to an independent company. And when this the 2014 Pokemon April Fool's Day, the Pokemon Google Maps April Fool's Day prank happened, it caught his eye, and he reached out to Tatsuo Nomura, who was the engineer at Google who did
yeah.
that. And what ended up happening was that Tatsuo Nomura is the director of Pokemon
Pokemon
Go.
Go, yeah.
He kind of ended up working with Niantic, and he ended up like pitching it straight to the Pokemon company. And this shit happened real fast. Like the April Fool's Day prank in 2014. So April 1st, 2014, when that April Fool's Day prank goes live. By April 6th, 2014, uh, Tatsuo Nomura was in a meeting with the Pokemon Company 5 days later. Now, this
That's
was
crazy. That is a
like
crazy turnaround.
there was stuff going on behind the scenes a little bit. I'm not going to lay out every single event. There is, if you go to Wikipedia, though, you can find it on. I'll actually give the citations for it because it was. Let me scroll down to it just to give this specific one because it's in like the 70s that this is that you can find it. Excuse me. Yeah. So uh citation 74, if you click on the archive link in the Wayback Machine,
Mm,
Tatsuo had a website called www.tatsuo.me, and he goes into the whole story of how like his involvement with Pokemon Go, like how he started at Google and then
yeah,
switched over to Niantic, and what his hobbies were, like all the whole story of how he kind of took Pokemon or took that Pokemon thing and turned it into Pokemon Go, and his work with Niantic. And one of the cool things he has in there was when he brought Pokemon Go to the Pokemon Company, or him and Niantic did, he got to meet Iwata.
oh yes,
And
RP.
one of the cool things he did though was that he brought his own homebrew Famicom to show Iwata. Like he like
That's awesome.
homebrewed his own Famicom. He didn't like hack one. He didn't
Yeah,
take one and like take
he
it apart.
made his
He
own.
he
Dang.
made his own. He like reverse engineered his own Famicom and showed it to Iwata. And now I don't know if it's like a language barrier or not, but when he's talking about it, when he gets to show Iwata it, Iwata goes, "Oh, that's cool." Like it didn't sound like it sounded like he was
Mm,
weirded out by it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
could just be like a language, maybe like
Translation.
translation, and it's the tone isn't exactly what I'm isn't exactly what he's intending it to be. I don't know, but he talks about how like honored he was to actually be able to show Iwata
Yeah.
Famicom that
Yeah.
he made. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm not surprised at how quickly this turned around because that Google Maps April Fool's thing was huge. I
Hmm.
was looking it through because I had found, and you at home won't be able to see this, but I can show Josh on my Instagram, my personal Instagram, on March 31st, 2014. I have a picture of the Pokemon Go April Fool's thing, and it shows a
Wow.
Dragonite and a Bulbasaur on here. And I said, everyone go do the Google Maps Pokemon challenge. Everyone says it's an April Fool's joke. Still awesome though. And I have a couple friends that talked about like catching Pokemon in the Google Maps April Fool's thing. But I remember doing this, and I remember when it popped up being super excited about it. But a ton of people, even had looking it up and seeing it, a ton of people were like really into this. So it's not surprising that it turned
Hmm.
around and became a conversation of just like, how do we capitalize on this as soon as we possibly can?
Yeah, man. It was such a smart thing to do. And the way that it was kind of pitched to Tatsuo, which I keep butchering his name because I think it's so close to
Tetsuya
Nomura.
Nomura. I know when you said Nomura, I was like Kingdom Hearts, like
Yeah, no,
Final Fantasy. I
it's
know it's a different
Tatsuo
guy.
Nomura, not
Yeah,
Tetsuo.
Tetsuya,
Tetsuya Nomura.
Tetsuya Nomura.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm blanking on it. Yeah, but it's Tatsuo Nomura
yeah.
is this one, is this guy. But yeah, it's crazy. And the engine that the game used heavily relied on Niantic's previous game called
Mhm.
Ingress, which
Yep.
came out beforehand. Um, and I'll actually look up the year that Ingress launched. 2013. It came out
Yeah.
just 3 years prior in 2013. But they Niantic also ended up doing a bunch of other games. They did the Harry Potter Wizards Unite. They did Pikmin Bloom.
Yep.
And obviously they are still doing stuff. They did Monster Hunter
Monster
now in
Hunter. Yeah.
2023, NBA All World as well in
None of them
2023.
were. Everyone tried to capitalize on the Pokemon Go fame with other IPs, and it
Yeah.
just it did. I tried the Harry Potter one, which was awful. It was so bad. I tried the Monster Hunter one, which was fine. It was kind of okay. It had like the battle mechanics of Pokemon Go, but none of it was Pokemon, and none of it could
Mm,
capitalize on the fame that Pokemon was. They tried, but it did not work very well.
yep. Yeah, and I mean Pokemon, it was just lightning in a bottle, man. Like you don't
Oh yeah,
that IP,
yeah,
like Harry Potter was a smart second IP for sure.
sure,
It just
sure,
yeah, it just didn't hit. It didn't hit to the same level, I should say. But
yeah.
one of the reasons why in early Pokemon Go all the Pokestops felt super random is because it was based off of Ingress's landmarks. The
Hmm.
landmarks that were designated in the game Ingress. That's why churches and like hot dog stands and shit were
Yeah, I
like
remember that.
Pokestops. I remember there was like one near us where there's like this camp that was also like people used it as wedding venues and like event
Mm.
venues, but it was also
Mhm,
like a
mhm.
camp during the summer type of thing. And there was this giant stone like pig outside of it, and that was
Yeah.
a Pokestop. And
When
that
they
it
had a
was like
little picture of it in the circles of the
yeah,
Pokestops, like
and it was at
of
like the
this
worst
location.
spot too because like you couldn't. It was on the corner of a road with no sidewalk. It was right on the edge, so like you can't get to it
That's
at
why
all. Like,
people
what are
be
you
getting hit by
supposed to
cars.
do? Um,
Yeah.
it's so goofy. So yeah, like that's why some of the early Pokestops are just super goofy, is because it was all based off Ingress. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I love how charming that is, like a pig statue of all things, but still. What were
Yeah.
some of the weird Pokestops for you in the early days? Do you have any that stick out to you?
Oh man, there was a lot of statues, a lot of fountains, like random
Hmm.
fountains in different places. Parks were a big one too. Um, it was interesting because I live in a pretty like well populated area, but I remember that like obviously people that are like super rural areas or like live in like crazy areas in the Midwest too, like had to travel places to even get to Pokestops. There was a whole system, I don't know if you remember, but where you could submit to have Pokestops
Yeah.
created. You can have Pokestops made, and I'm assuming if they saw enough people submitting applications for it, they were like, okay, well, yeah, this is obviously a place that people frequent, so we need to have more stops
Hmm.
there. Upgrading their whole ecosystem in there in general.
Yep.
But no, yeah, there was weird ones all over the place at this time. Not exactly 2016, but 2017. I was in college and I was transferring to a different college in 2017 too. So there was like random spots on like random corners on campus that were Pokemon Go. This was a cool time too because there was a Pokemon club on the college I was at. So like
Mm.
we had Pokemon Go all the time. They would do raids together and they would hang out at like on the do all the spots all over the campus too, which was so much fun. It was so again, it's like the community aspect that was more tangible than other things that I had like done before.
And what's even crazier is early Pokemon Go didn't have raids or boss battles
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
gym battles or
It
anything like
was
that. It was
very just like catch things and that's it and walk
yeah.
around.
I think the closest thing you had was that because you have the 3 teams, you know,
Yeah,
you have oh my gosh, I can't believe I forget all of them. Do you remember
yeah,
them?
yeah. Instinct, Valor, and Mystic.
Which one were you?
I was Team Instinct. I was Zapdos. Zapdos is my boy. I picked Team
I was
Instinct.
Mystic with Articuno.
Yep. Yep. I remember because it was almost like not to the very obviously very dramatic version of this, but kind of like little gangs where everyone was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
what team were you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm Team Instinct." And they're like, "I'm Team Valor, buddy. Sorry, you gotta." And it was always fun finding people in the wild, especially on a college campus too, where
Mhm.
they're like, you see someone standing outside the door waiting for class to start, and because you see when people are like spinning their finger, they're spinning Pokestops, and you're just like, "Oh, hey, playing Pokemon Go?" And you're like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm playing Pokemon Go too." And again, it's just like a fun, like I got to meet a lot of cool friends
Yeah.
through Pokemon Go too.
Well, like besides just that I think one of the early things they didn't have like gym leader battles, but they did
Yeah,
have like they had gyms in like really specific spots,
right.
and a team could take over that gym, so you could put
Yeah,
one of your Pokemon in that gym, and in order to take over the gym, you would have to fight your way through all of the Pokemon that was
yep.
helmed by like different people, and like
Oh, so fun.
it was really cool. And I remember like there was one gym near me that I every time I would go for a walk, there was always somebody who would take over.
Yep.
And remember there was like, you know, it would give you like little rewards for if you held a gym for like 2 days or three
Yep.
days or
Yep.
something like that. Um, so I played a lot of my Pokemon Go stuff was done in the early Pokemon Go playing was done in
Mm,
the early stages. Once
yeah.
the raids came out, like the 40 plus man raids, which is really cool. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, that's a really cool idea. I was already like not really too far. I was like not really into it at that point, but
Yeah.
I still remember. So when I first played, I think I actually also got into the beta or like the
Oh,
early
nice.
access,
Yeah.
but I don't know why I did because as I've said to you before, it's not like I dislike Pokemon, but I wouldn't classify myself as a huge Pokemon fan. I'm a
Sure.
Pokemon enjoyer. I like
Yeah.
it. I like Pokemon for what it is, but I'm not like a diehard fan. So I don't know why exactly I decided to download it. I think I just for some reason I saw this. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have FOMO about this, and I
Yeah.
downloaded it, but then I never touched it until it officially launched.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh shit, I need to play this game."
I need to
And
play this now. Yeah.
I remember so I did not live in a really I lived in a well enough populated area, but like at the time they hadn't quite figured out the population, you know,
Yeah.
populating the world with Pokemon and like the spawn rates and
Sure.
stuff like that because there was like fucking no Pokemon near me except for my starters.
Yeah.
As the game went on, then it became easier. Now you can get Pokemon even if you're in the middle of nowhere. But
Oh,
back in the
yeah.
day, you could only get it where there was a lot of people. So if you lived
Yeah.
in the suburbs like me, or you like, because like I said, I did Pokemon Go with my wife in Philly, but I don't live in Philly. I live
Yeah.
like way out. I live out of Philly, way out of Philly. So like, there's I'm missing all of that good shit.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people who like live in like especially like LA and New York had like the best experience with
Oh,
Pokemon Go. And for a while I know you could only get specific Pokemon like certain Pokemon were region locked. Like you could
region
only get
locked.
certain some
Like
Pokemon in
countries region
yeah,
locked. Yeah, which
which
is
is
insane.
crazy but
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It was kind of like a cool insight for them to kind of implement that at first, or maybe it kind of happened as the game was going on. But this idea again of like, okay, the entire world is playing this game and it's
Yeah.
outside playing this game. How cool would it be if you could only get Pokemon at specific places? Then people traveling would be like, oh, I ran into a Kangaskhan. I caught a Kangaskhan that it can only be found in this location. You cannot
Mhm.
find a Kangaskhan in the United States. Like that kind of thing is like is really cool for Pokemon because Pokemon is kind of like that. And it makes the Pokemon that they did that with, which were rare Pokemon, already feel rare. Like if you had someone that had those
Yeah.
Pokemon, they had to physically go to those locations to get the Pokemon, or they got it
Yeah.
traded from somebody else. But no, I live like about an hour or so outside of LA, and doing and going around LA and Santa Monica during this time was insane. Like it was pandemonium. I went to some of the first Mewtwo raids with my wife. My wife and I did some of like the original
Wow.
Mewtwo raids, and they were crazy. Like we were just like one of them was at a park, and we were just kind of in the car, kind of like off to the side, trying to catch Pokemon. And we had to get a little closer to do the raid. And when we went up, there was just people all over the place. And we were after we beat the raid, we were trying to catch the Pokemon. And some guy was like, "Here, let me help you. I'll show you like the spin trick to try to like catch
Yeah.
the Pokemon and everything." But it was crazy. It was wild to we hadn't done any like raids after that. That was kind of our only experience. But it was wild to go to like Mewtwo being in the game was an event. It was like an event that's happening. You go here to catch this legendary Pokemon, and you all have to work together to defeat it.
Mm.
And again, it's a feeling that I don't know if another video game is going to be able to replicate.
No, because it's recreating that MMO raid feeling of like you and
Yes,
40 other random
like
people
real life.
coming, well, not random in raid in
Sure.
MMOs, but like coming together for this common purpose. But it's different than an MMO because you're not doing it from the comfort of your home. You have to
Nope.
go. You have to be in communion. You have to be in community with other people in person, IRL.
Mhm.
Like like no one ever uses that acronym anymore, whatever. But like you actually have to be with somebody in
Yeah.
person. You had to see them, look at them in their eyes as you took the Pokemon from them. Um, uh, but yeah, like it's just I think that's why I this game will always be so special to me is because of that communal aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
It just really was a time when just everyone was just so excited to be out and about. It caused me to explore my local area. I went to parks that
Yeah,
I
for
never knew
sure.
existed.
Yep. Same.
Um, it encouraged us to explore the world around us. And I think that there was a joke I remember when the game came out that like the Pokemon company is always trying to get people to interact with humans, to interact with each
Yeah.
other. Because from the first game you have the link cable, right?
Yeah.
Where
You have to
you
interact with
could trade,
people.
and there's only some Pokemon you could only get via trade because it would
Yeah.
evolve once you traded it. So you had to become friends with someone and get the link cable and all that other stuff. And as the game went on, then didn't like some of the later DS ones had like the little Poke the it was like
Yeah. The
the Poke
Pokewalker.
Walker, yeah, that
Yep.
would connect to the game to connect to the DS, where you could walk around and level up your Pokemon through you walking around in the
Yep.
world to get out and about, and then you would come back, resync it up, and then all of a sudden you would your Pokemon on level. And they had something similar for Pokemon Go too. They had Pokemon Go Plus, which
Yeah.
was
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
the
I never owned
band,
one.
yeah, which let you basically do everything. You would hit a button to tap Pokestops. You would hit a button to catch Pokemon. Like it would buzz when there was something of interest that you could do, and you would
Hmm.
just tap the button. And then next time you checked your phone, it would collect everything. But it was nice because it allowed you to go out and still play the game without having
Not
to
having it.
actually
Yeah.
like look at a screen, and you could actually walk around and be away from your phone for a little bit, which was a really like honestly ingenious idea. I remember those were hard to get for a while.
Oh yeah, they were. I tried, and I could I could not get one. I tried buying one, and eventually I was like, they also weren't cheap either. So I was like, you know what, I don't need one. I'm fine using my phone. I don't need the peripheral. But you're right, they were difficult to find for a while. And yeah, again, the more we talk about this, the more it's like I'm more realizing how much again of like you said, Pokemon Go was a very lightning in the bottle moment
Hmm.
for the world and for the Pokemon company too.
I mean, it just brought everyone together in such a unique, interesting way. And I remember, like, from one of my own stories of Pokemon Hunt, because I think that's one of the fun aspects of it is like the
Hmm.
stories of like the
Fun
Pokemon
little anecdotes.
yeah, the anecdotes and everything like that. I
Yeah.
remember, I want to say it was like I was staying with my buddy Justin still, and Micah. So like not living with my wife at all. It was just me and
Yeah.
my my two friends, and it's like 11:30, 11:45 at night, like right, 15 minutes before midnight. And I'm laying in bed. I'm like about to get ready to sleep. I'm in my pajamas, just ready to fall asleep. I'm like, I'm going to check Pokemon Go quick, see if there's any like things in the area that would interest me. And this was in the early day, like I'm talking like the first 2 or 3 months of the game, right? So this is really,
Mm-hmm.
really early. And there was a Pikachu, and there was no Pikachus in my area at all.
Mm-hmm.
This was the
Yeah.
first one I had seen in like a month and a half of like playing and finding. And I rush out of my bedroom when I see it, run down to the opposite side of the house to Justin's room. I'm like, and I'm knocking on his door. I'm like, "Are you asleep? Are you asleep?" And he goes, "No, not yet." I'm like, "There's a Pikachu near us." And he goes,
Yeah.
"What?" And we throw on our clothes. We sprint out of the house. We are running up and down the development sidewalks and yards. And we're like, okay, we're getting farther away. It's getting okay. This isn't working. We get
Yeah.
in our car and we follow it about like 2 miles down the road to a
Oh my
local
gosh.
mall. And we're in the mall parking lot at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we finally get the Pikachu, and we were like, we just, oh man, I wish I could recreate the scream of joy we had of finding a Pikachu.
Oh, I love that. That is awesome. Well, and it less so now, just because I mean, at this point, they are up to the ninth generation, the most current generation of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Not every Pokemon is in Pokemon Go at the moment, but they have putting Pokemon that are in the most current generation. And
Hmm.
so you can still see rare spawns and things like that. But when it's like that early moment and there is only a handful of Pokemon, and so you're seeing the same kind of thing recycled, when you saw something new or something that you like don't usually see spawn,
Hmm.
it was an event. I don't know if you remember either, but and I never really figured out how it worked. Apparently, there was supposed to be around each of the Pokemon's little like silhouettes. There was little footsteps, and as you got
Yes.
closer, the footsteps were supposed to be less. So, like as you got closer, there was like less
Yep.
footsteps that are supposed to be there. I don't know how well that actually worked because I tried. Sometimes they spawned, sometimes they didn't. But there was supposed to be a system of showing how close you were to a Pokemon or not. But yeah, I had lots of moments like that where it was just like seeing Pokemon spawn that were rare was an event. And
Hmm.
I think they probably did this intentionally. Like I said, I live more coastal, so like I saw a lot of water Pokemon early on, where I don't know if someone that like lived
Yeah, I
more.
saw none. It was all like
Yeah,
Pidgeys and shit.
I was getting like Horsies and Poliwags, and like a lot of those were showing up just because I was
Hmm.
walking around areas that had bodies of water next to them too. So, which is cool. Again, it's just another cool idea of just like this is an area where these Pokemon would live. Let's take that into consideration where we're activating and developing the spawns for these Pokemon.
I remember also like in the early days, I don't know how the system works now, but there was like nests of individual Pokemon. So like there was
Mm,
like you could go to an area and it was like filled with like this type of Pokemon,
yeah.
but only in that area, and then the rest was kind of like it was almost like your world was like filled with like Pidgeys and Rattatas and all this other shit because I lived in like a grassy, like
Yeah.
Pennsylvania is like swampish in some areas and like woodsy in others and grasslands in others. But periodically you would get like nests and there would be like a fuckload of Charmander or something like that, or like Squirtle
Ooh,
in this other one.
yeah.
um and I remember I think I might still have it. My boss at my job, I don't think I'm going to get them in trouble or not because this is over 10 years ago and no one's doing this. And no one was playing on the clock, just to be clear. I'm not even saying that for like just to cover anyone's asses. It's genuinely, that was the honest to God truth. I remember though, off the clock, they printed out a map of the park across the street from our work and they labeled where like different Pokemon were spotted and
That
seen.
is awesome.
And so that way on our lunch breaks we could go over and then see. I remember like getting my rollerblades so I could get farther up to the park and see what else was there that I was. And what
I
was
love
funny
that.
was that park I had not really explored. I had been at the job at that point for like 2 years already, and I really hadn't explored the park at all. And
Mm,
it was always kind of like a mystery to me. I'm like, oh, what's this park over here? Like, I don't know what's
yeah.
over there. Now I've explored it enough where it's like no longer a mystery and like all that part's gone. But at the time, I was like, oh, what is this place? This is kind of, and now like Pokemon Go is synonymous with me exploring that park on my lunch break and stuff like that. It was just
Oh,
really cool.
that's
And
awesome.
it once again just showing how it kind of brought like different generations and different groups of people together. And the fact that my boss was so into it on their lunch
Yeah.
breaks and outside of
Creating a
work,
map of all the
like
the
I
the
remember
Pokemon is
I
so
remember
funny.
them telling me they would like drive around after work just hunting, but like just hunting. And
Yeah.
back, you know, first off, kids, don't drive and play Pokemon Go. It's very
Yeah,
dangerous.
don't
But
do that.
if you're gonna do that, you have to drive very slow for the system to not
Yeah, it
to
won't
think that you're
register
walking.
that exactly. It won't even register. I definitely was playing Pokemon Go on the clock during this time. I worked retail, and there was lots of moments where I was like, I gotta run to the stock room real quick, or it's like a slow day or something like that. And I was definitely like open Pokemon Go and just like
Mm,
looking through real quick as I was going there. Um, I looked to see on my game what's my oldest Pokemon because I do have obviously I've traded things away. I didn't look at like the date that I captured everything. I didn't keep them, but I do have a Poliwhirl that I caught on July 20th, 2016. I still have a little Poliwhirl here that I caught
that's
in
wild.
July of 2016.
I uninstalled Pokemon Go after the previously mentioned issues, but I'm gonna
Yes,
reinstall it real quick while we're
I
recording,
yeah I
just to do that.
I haven't played in a while. When I looked at my last catch, I think it was earlier this year, I was playing, but I also re-downloaded it specifically for this episode. I wanted to see like when my original like start date was, how old my oldest Pokemon was. I wanted to see some of those early things, which are really cool. I mean, I'm seeing a Gen 2 Pokemon, so it couldn't have been. Oh yeah, that was like the next. I have like five. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 Pokemon from 2016 that I caught. So I still have. I
Okay.
gotta hold on. I gotta hold on to those. Those are the OGs.
I'm gonna try to see if I can. I now it's asking for my password to my Google account, and I don't remember what my password to my Google account is, so that doesn't help at all.
Yep.
Um, I'll try one other thing real quick, but I don't want to lock myself out either.
Right, right. Yeah, no, Pokemon Go looks very different today than it did early on. I mean, I still remember too. I think this happened within the first year, but people were either, and I don't know the technology. I don't know if it was like a separate app or anything, but people were able to implement like an analog stick almost where you could
Mm,
walk around without having to move. So people were walking their characters. It was emulating your character walking without you having to walk. And so you can sit in your house and move your character like to Australia and catch
wow.
Pokemon over there without actually having to move it. Again,
Oh,
this is
oh,
very
like
like
using like a VPN almost or something.
yes, I think the idea of it was around there, but you were able to physically like move your character as if it was like a game, like a video game with an
Mm.
analog stick, and you can move it around, which again was defeating the purpose of Pokemon Go. The whole point is for you to get out and move around too. But
There was also, I remember, like a Poke Radar that you could get. It was a third party app. It wasn't like official at all.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was a way to like look at like which area, like which Pokemon are appearing in which area, so that way you wouldn't have to like
Mhm.
hunt around, which once again kind of defeats the purpose of it. Like
Sure.
if you're going into Pokemon Go trying to min max, like that's you're kind of
Yeah.
missing the point of the game. But like listen, there's always going to be people who want to min
Yeah.
max. I get it, I understand that mentality, but you are missing the point of what Pokemon Go is trying to do, which is just go out and be with
Yeah.
humans and play
Well, I
and
mean,
explore.
it was interesting playing because I was still actively playing Pokemon Go during COVID,
Mhm.
and where I was not going outside. And COVID was a very opposite of Pokemon Go's mentality, which is when they started introducing the remote raids and being able to do raids from
Yeah.
your home and able to hatch eggs. They changed spawn rates so you didn't have to be, because most of the time it was like Pokemon wouldn't spawn unless you were moving for the most part. So they changed that where Pokemon would spawn more often, even if you weren't moving. But even having it like adjust to COVID and everything like that, where people aren't active outside anymore, people are more indoors, they were still able to find a way of making Pokemon Go work even then.
Hmm. Side note: I did reinstall Pokemon Go. I'm going to
Okay,
see
here we
if
go.
what my account still has and what it doesn't have. I'm very excited to actually see what it. Oh, it's got the Gyarados screen.
Oh, nice.
I haven't seen what the loading screen is in this game for a while. I even remember like for a while like, the game was so finicky that like you couldn't even get to the main screen for a while, and I was just looking at the loading screen, just
I
praying the
so many
servers were
loading
up.
screens. So many loading screens I remember. I am curious to see when was your last caught? Like when was the last time you caught a Pokemon? I'm curious to see that too.
I will let you know. It just asked for my location and all that other shit. So I'm gonna I will provide an update momentarily.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so there are some Pokemon near me. I can see a couple Pokestops nearby. So let me
Mhm.
go to my most recent one. Okay, skip the mythical the one they added the professor just like constantly yip
Oh, they
yapping.
constantly yell like he's constantly saying something in your ear, like, "Bro, shut up,
Yeah.
please. Please let
Um
me do my thing."
okay, I was trying to remember the interface.
Yep.
And I couldn't remember where it was at. Okay, so if I search by the most recent one I caught,
Yeah, if you click on the Pokemon.
2022. The last
Okay,
time
yeah.
most recent one was 2022. So it's
And then
been quite some time.
if you flip that, it'll show you your first caught, or at least the oldest one that you have currently.
7/16/2016. And
There you go.
funnily enough, it's the Pikachu that I told the
Oh,
story
wow.
about.
It's the
I still
Pikachu. That's
have it.
awesome.
I still
That's
have that
crazy.
Pikachu.
That's
That's
crazy.
wild, man. That is absolutely wild. Yeah. 7/16/2016. That's great. Holy shit. Hold on. Hold the phone. Okay, no, I got really excited. 7/19 is when this episode is coming out. Um,
Oh, dude, if it dropped on 7/16,
I would be losing my mind.
that would be
That's
wild.
really funny.
I mean,
You
hey,
know,
that's it's close still. It's close enough to be something, I feel.
I'm gonna see if I caught anything on 7/19 and just oh, I did. I caught a Pidgeot. Maybe it was a Pidgey that I evolved. I don't know,
Mm,
but it is.
yep,
I caught it on 7/19. That's the only Pokemon on there.
yep.
That's
My earl
crazy though.
my earliest is 7/20. It's that Poliwhirl, July 20th,
That's
2016.
so funny. Um, Yeah, so I guess one other thing we should go into before we move on to we kind of have a bit of a treat for you listeners. Jared and I were
Mm.
talking about we have a little audio treat for y'all that I'll talk about in just a moment. But before we get into that, we should at least talk about what the mechanics of this game are. We've been talking
Oh, yeah, we've been
around the
glazing it up.
culture. I mean,
Yeah,
but to be fair, the mechanics really aren't the most important thing about this game.
sure.
It's the zeitgeist, the
Yeah.
cultural impact that this game had. Um, but the basic mechanics are you walk around physically in real life like
Ah,
you do, and you see like a Google Map looking view of the world, and various Pokemon will spawn just like they would in a Pokemon game. You tap them to begin battle with them. You can I don't know if it still is this way. Is it you don't actually fight with your Pokemon at all? You just try to
no.
capture them still,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
it's
with
just
like a
throwing,
Pokeball
balls and using berries to help
or
you catch
berries or
Pokemon.
lures. You can or
Yeah,
lures draws more to you.
yep,
Berries will like increase the chance, the odds, the percentage
yep.
of capture, stuff like that. You flick the Pokeball with your thumb or whichever finger
Mhm,
you prefer. You can also spin it, and it'll cause
mhm,
like a bowling ball, almost like it'll curve across the screen, which is really
yep,
fun. Um, I always really like that. But yeah, and then you capture Pokemon. You can then evolve the Pokemon with Stardust, which you get from going to Pokestops. You can also get Pokeballs from going to Pokestops, as well as I think I don't know about gyms. It's been so long since I've
mhm.
had a chance to play, but you get all those items just from walking around exploring. You can
Yep,
also pay for them if you want to, if you don't feel
yes.
like going to Pokestops. I never paid for anything. I actually thought this game was like really well balanced for all things considered.
Yeah, it's very accessible in terms of, and I think early on too, I was playing it so much that I never felt the need to need
Hmm.
Poke. I think I've probably like purchased something in this game maybe twice out of the 10 years on and off that I've been playing it. I've probably like done two purchases for more Pokeballs or something. But like you said, for the most part, if you're playing enough of this game, you definitely do not need to put any money at all into doing it. You just walk around, you just play. You just walk around, catch Pokemon, do all that, and it's pretty easy to collect things. I
Hmm.
like it's funny the idea of like, you can catch multiple of a Pokemon, and like Josh said, you use that like candy and stuff to evolve Pokemon, but you have to like you like grind down the old Pokemon, you transfer them out for candy so you can feed them to your other Pokemon. It's kind of
Yep.
morbid. It's kind of awful.
Oh yeah, because you turn them into candies, and then you need
Yep.
enough candies to. You can get candies for Pokemon by either capturing it or
Yeah.
trading in, and like you said, grinding them into
Yeah. I don't
candy.
know what the professor's doing, but I hand him my Pokemon and he gives me candy. So I'm just, I kind of just assume.
Sounds like a predator. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, so like that's pretty much I mean, for the most part, that's the basics of the mechanics. There are like
Yeah.
lots of specific nuances. There's a lot of specific
Mhm.
mechanics like battling at gyms. There's raids. There's the
Yeah.
Team Rocket battles.
Yep.
There's so many different things that they added since I stopped playing. Though I did play
Um,
after the Team Rocket battles were added. I just never. I
yeah.
did a few actually. I forget.
I mean,
I did a
there's
few.
full competitive battles now. You can one-on-one play with
Hmm.
people. Competitive Pokemon Go runs at Worlds just alongside the mainline game and the TCG. They do competitive Pokemon Go battles at things like Worlds too. So Pokemon Go is still it's a competitive field too, which is interesting.
Now, do you know, do they give more, does the game give more stats about individual Pokemon that you have? I remember before you could
Mm,
have the professor grade your Pokemon and he would say it's great or it's good or it's okay. And you would only really want to evolve or like put, experience and candies and stardust into Pokemon that were already had great stats, meaning they were
yeah,
already higher than your average bear,
yeah,
better than your average bear in terms of whichever Pokemon it may be. So like
yeah.
your first Pokemon you get, like, do you want to keep it because you can only store so many unless you buy more storage space
Right,
through
right.
either gameplay or through just spending actual money. So do you want to keep a storage slot for your first Pokemon
Yeah,
for sentimental values, or do you sell that shit because it's got shit stats? You know,
yeah,
that's up to you. But do you know, does the game offer more than just saying it's great or it's good, or is it
yeah.
more detailed than that now?
So it's still pretty rudimentary. Like it's not too complex at all, right? There's a star system, so 3 stars or whatever is kind of like the max you can get, and then underneath each one of the stars, there's attack, defense, and HP. And as you go to each Pokemon, you can appraise it. So whoever is like your team leader will appraise the Pokemon, and there'll be a bar that will fill up. And obviously, the goal is to get 3 stars, max stats. And
Mhm.
so people will hunt specifically for the highest stat Pokemon. Again, it's not as complex as like normal Pokemon stats, but you can play around with like having more attack and having more defense and having more HP. And people mostly shoot for having Pokemon that have the perfect stats. Is all three are
Mhm.
perfect, and they have the 3 stars as well.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. Like I remember that's what it was. I just didn't know if it
Yeah.
had changed since obviously you've
Nope.
played more
It's
recently
still
than I have.
yeah, it's still pretty much the same. And I think, like I said, I think people when they're playing comp, they specifically grind for Pokemon that have perfect stats. And luckily, there's
Yes.
no things like natures or anything like that. Pokemon are limited to only having 2 moves, so it's a very cut down version of like normal Pokemon, but it also has its own, I think, strategies. And it is
Yes.
funny seeing people play World. I play at Worlds because they're like tapping on their screens to like battle and everything, and that's how they fight, which is funny.
Now, there is another thing, and speaking of grinding, Jared, there's another thing you can grind for, which is called shinies, shiny Pokemon. Which that's not
Your
specific to this
favorite.
game. That's shinies are in. When was the first game that had shinies?
Gold and silver. Gold and
Oh,
silver
the
introduced
original Gold
shinies.
and Silver.
Yeah, the original Gold and Silver were the first time that you can get shiny Pokemon that were different colors. Technically, if you want me pushing my Pokemon glasses, there is Pokemon in Gen 1 that have a specific numbered code in them that they will be recognized as shiny if they're moved to Gold and Silver. They don't change visually in Red, Blue, and Yellow, but you can
That's
grind for
wild.
one that has a specific code to it. And if you can find the number of the code to that Pokemon, I think it's attached to your Pokemon trainer number. I don't know the exact like specifics of it, but you can catch a Pokemon in Red and Blue. It won't look shiny, and then when you transfer it to Gold and Silver, it will be shiny. But yes, Gen 2 was the first time they introduced shinies into the game.
So that bullshit's been around since the beginning, is what you're telling me.
Yep, it's been around since the early 2000s, buddy. People have been
God
grinding for
damn.
these things for the
I
last
I don't
20,
know what it
20 plus
is.
years.
I don't know what it is, dude, but I have a chip on my shoulder about how much I think they're stupid. I don't understand the fascination that people have
But
with
Josh, they're a different color.
and apparently not all, a lot of times their stats are worse than the regular ones.
And
From what
sometimes they're
I've
barely a different color. Sometimes they're just like a slight hue shift. Like Pikachu has a very bad shiny.
I don't understand. Like, listen, I can understand completionists trying to
Yeah.
completion. I get it. I understand that mentality. What I don't understand is the surprising popularity of shiny hunting.
Mm.
So many people I talk to who are fans of Pokemon do shiny hunting. Do you shiny hunt? I'm not gonna be pissed off or anything like that. But
No, I mean, I've like dabbled sort of in like the newer games where it's a lot easier to shiny hunt, where they
Mm.
have like the egg method, the Masuda method, and everything, where you're catching eggs. But I've never like grinded for like hundreds of hours to get shinies. A lot of the shinies I found just by happenstance. And again, this is in the newer games where like odds are higher to get shinies, and they're a lot easier to do too. And Pokemon Go is a perfect example. Like my thing with Pokemon Go was I always would come back because I would be like, oh, I haven't played Pokemon Go in a while, I should play it. And I'd run into a shiny and it'd be like, well, they got me. Now I'm going to be playing Pokemon Go for a little bit to try to get more shinies. But it's
Mm.
easier to do in games like Pokemon Go. But no, I have not like spent a significant amount of time like hunting for shinies. I do like shinies. A lot of them are really dumb, but if you break down the concept of them, they're just different. They're not better. They're just different colors. And I think because they're like difficult to get, people are excited when they get them because they mean nothing. It's meaningless at the end of the day. But because people are
It's
like,
just bragging rights.
it's just, especially because Fire Red and Leaf Green are like the newest Pokemon games that come to Switch. Like they put the Game Boy games on Nintendo Switch, and people are grinding for the starters. But this is back when the odds were like one in every 9,000 Pokemon possibly could be shiny, and people are spending like hundreds of hours trying to get shinies. And again, I was telling Josh like beforehand, like people will like not even start the new games because they'll try to shiny hunt their starter before even like playing the game. Like I finished the game before they even started the game.
That's insane. I and listen, for people out there who like to hunt shinies. I'm not trying to yuck your yum. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I am a little bit, but like, don't listen to me. Like, if you like doing it, more power to you. I just don't understand spending so much time for
Mm,
something that is marginally different at
yeah.
best. And
Mm,
I just don't get. And I think also it's because the people I have talked to that like shinies, it's not just that they're like intrigued by them. It's like, oh no, I'm going to spend hours trying to get a shiny. I'm like, what? You could be doing so much. I'm not talking. And listen, I'm not talking about like, being productive, like, doing
sure.
something else, you fucking grind culture bullshit. I mean, you could be playing a different game. You could be leisuring a better, a more
Yep.
productive way.
Yeah.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, leisure is leisure. If that's
Yeah.
what you find fun, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever will, but it
Luckily,
confuses me.
in things like Pokemon Go, every like month or so, every couple of weeks, they have a community day, which was a big thing early Pokemon 2, which community day, they highlighted a single Pokemon and there was higher chances of that Pokemon to spawn. And I mean, how you should find shinies, it's just, again, it's a one in something chance. So if there's more of that Pokemon, you have a higher likely chance for that to be
Mm,
shiny. So that's a lot of the times when people would get their shinies is through community day. They'd be like, okay, Eevee is the community day Pokemon, and like you'll run into like an area of Pokestops and there'll be like 30 Eevee there, and it's like, well, now Eevee is more likely to be shiny because there's just more quantity of the Pokemon to catch. So I have a decent amount of shinies in Pokemon Go, but it's for that reason specifically. Like the community comes around, it's
yeah.
usually like, oh, it's usually a weekend. Usually it takes up like a Saturday or a Sunday at a certain like time frame, and then it goes away until the next month. And that's kind of like the extent of it. People aren't going like, they're not able to grind for hours because it's only a certain window. And if you can't catch a shiny in that window, then you just don't get a shiny.
I think that's a much better idea because
Yeah.
not only does it make it more fair to getting the shinies, but also once again, the point of Pokemon Go, the
Yep.
communal aspect of it. You're all out and about on the same day for the same reason in the same location
Hmm.
to collect a shiny, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, is there any other things about the gameplay that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on yet before we kind of go into the little audio surprise I have prepared?
I mean, nothing too crazy. I would just say the biggest changes to Go now are like raids are a much bigger deal, which especially now that they're up to Gen 9, legendary Pokemon will spawn. And again, it's just like the community aspect of people coming together in raids and doing that. They have Gigantamax backs battles, which is a whole other thing where Gigantamax is a version of Pokemon, and they're like, some of them are different like forms, but they're like bigger. It's like another version of raids. Raids was something that I never like super got into like late game, especially like the Dynamax and Gigantamax things in there.
Mhm.
But no, the systems, the base, the foundation is still the same, which I think why people are still playing Pokemon Go and why I get like hooked in every now and then. Although, like I said, I haven't played it in a while, but the foundation of just like connecting with people and catching Pokemon and loving Pokemon, I think it's still there, right? There's like 1,000 plus Pokemon at this point now, so there is a lot of Pokemon, but it's fun because I see kids, and I have like family friends that have younger kids that got into Pokemon through Pokemon Go. They found their favorites through Pokemon Go and everything like that too. So it's cool as like another avenue to get people, again, bridging the generation, get new people into the Pokemon ecosystem, because I mean, it's hard to miss. I mean, it scooped us up in the 90s as kids and everything like that, and they're still actively getting kids to fall in love with this franchise. It's still 30 years later.
Dude, we were just at a play date for my daughter and one of her friends at their house, and her friend is 5 years old. And I found out from their mom that like they are into Pokemon right now. They have Pokemon cards. They got, for Father's Day, they got a Lego Pikachu for them to build with their dad.
Oh, that's like, so cool.
It's crazy. Like like they're into Pokemon. Like it's still a thing. It's still big. Yeah. I obviously secretly hope that my daughter is going to be into the OG Pokemon if she gets into everything. But like, I'm under no illusions that like once you see more modern graphics, it's going to be hard for her to get into it until she's an adult. And it's one of those things where it's like, if she's interested, one of the things that once you're an adult and you can appreciate the games on a more artistic level, then you're like, oh, I wonder. Then the curiosity comes in, like, what was it like before this? What was it like before I was into this type of thing? But all right, well, what I want to do next, I teased it already a little bit. You know what I'm talking about, Jared. One of the big things with Pokemon Go, if you could not tell, is the communal aspects of Pokemon Go. If we haven't been talking about that enough. But I didn't want to just talk about it. I wanted to find a way to bring in the communal aspect for Pokemon Go, because part of the things with I've said it a whole bunch of times before, to steal a point from the Video Game History Foundation, when you're talking about game preservation, you can only you could look at the game and play the game, but that's only part of the history of the game. The other part is the cultural preservation. And so in an effort to aid that cultural preservation of Pokemon Go, like what it meant to so many people, I have a list of audio clips from friends of the show, from different podcasters, different other people in kind of our Jared and I's space, and just talking about like their personal memories and recollections. And we have not listened to any of these prior. Some of these are 30 seconds. Some of these are 3 to 4 minutes. I don't know. We're going to find out. I didn't give them any limitations on this. So this could be a 30-minute clip for all we know. We're going to find out. I don't think any of that.
Let's do it. I'm here for the ride.
Based off the file sizes that I sent to Jared, none of these are very long. And I think the only one that's somewhat long is because they exported, or because the file size is larger, they exported it at a higher bit rate. So I'm pretty sure none of these are very long. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and start playing some of these clips. Hey y'all, Future Josh here, jumping in real quick here because y'all, I messed up. There's a bunch of wonderful clips here sent to me by a bunch of friends of the show, and one of them I forgot to include when I was recording this with Jared. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to record this live. You are going to hear my reaction live. Well, I guess live. It's not live. You're hearing this after the fact, but I'm doing this in the middle of editing, god damn it. So I apologize to who this wonderful person is, and without further ado, let's hear what they have to say about Pokemon Go.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kalo, or Kevin, from Game Sandwich and the Level Up over on YouTube, and we're talking about Pokemon Go. Man, I can't tell you more of a time where, as a collective fan base, and just, I guess, the world in general, we were brought so close together just by this mobile game, which is crazy to think about. I mean, I remember the first few days of Pokemon Go being released, and the sheer madness and the sheer joy that people found coming across random Pokemon like Eradicate or a Primeape or even a Snorlax. If you had a Snorlax in the local area, almost everybody you've ever met or ever known, they're at that spot trying to get that same Pokemon. And I live in a town where there's a lot of local landmarks and there's a lot of different things to go see. So people were constantly at these landmarks setting up lures to lure in those really rare Pokemon like a Dragonite. I also always remember whenever my mom was driving the car, I would sit passenger seat and I would have my phone out at all times plugged in just to make sure I had a full battery and I was on the app at all times just to kind of scan the local area. I mean, a few times my mom, God bless her heart, she actually pulled over for me once whenever a Charizard spawned in the wild. I remember that moment. It was just like I won the lottery. And then as things progressed and like summer came around, it was that thing where you would go out to a local park and there would be like-minded people there, like Pokemon fans all alike doing the same thing. Like I met people, we were talking about our favorite Pokemon, our favorite generations, or it was the whole thing. And that sense of community, and not to get sentimental about gaming, but like this is what gaming's all about. Community, bringing people together, a shared experience that we all know and love. And now I can freely say this because I'm out of class, but there were times during my college courses where I would have the app open, allegedly, on the side, and I would be trying to catch a few Pokemon during class. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I didn't actually do it, but I kind of did. And then it was just this wave of sheer excitement whenever a new generation got added to the game. Or whenever my favorite Pokemon, Mudkip, came to the game, I made it my sole quest that weekend to go find him and go locate him. Go locate all my favorite Pokemon. And then the raid battles. Those were another thing that still daunting to this day, but it's a thing where, like, I would recruit family members to be like, hey, we're going to go to this place. We're going to battle this Pokemon. Let's go do this. And it's a thing where it wasn't just the young people. It was like the older people in my family and then like the way younger people in my family. We were all going out to play Pokemon Go. And as like the sole gamer of the family, that was something to see where it's like, oh, people who normally aren't into games are into this and still actively playing it, which again, to me, I just kind of stand back like a proud parent going, yeah, like this is gaming. This is what it's all about. And quite honestly, since the release of Pokemon Go, I don't really think we've had that type of hysteria, the mass hysteria, whenever a game releases. The closest thing to that, I assume, is going to be GTA 6. But the idea of like New York City, there's that famous clip of everyone running to Central Park because a Dragonite spawned. Like this made news, like actual mainstream news. And for a little app or like a game, I get it. It's the biggest franchise, like the most well-known one. But for that to happen, I mean, come on, like that is actually insane. But shout out to the Still Loading podcast for having me on to yap a little bit about Pokemon Go. I still play. I still try to get a curveball in every now and then. Am I good at it? No, I still miss, and I think that's okay. But Pokemon Go is just a fun thing to get into, especially as the weather gets nice around these parts. And I can kind of go out, capture Pokemon, live out my boyhood dream of becoming a Pokemon trainer in the real world. And still, nothing beats that feeling of finding a Pokemon you want in the wild, or like a shiny, just randomly coming across one. Nothing beats it. But yeah, thank you once again to the Still Loading podcast for having me on to talk about Pokemon Go, and I'll see you guys next time.
Oh man, thank you so much, Kevin, for that wonderful clip there. I mean, so much of that resonated with me, like the community, the coming together. People, Jared and I talked about it a lot on this episode. Also, just like getting your family involved, that's really cool. Like I couldn't get any of my family involved, but I do remember when my friends and I were walking around, there were people who were not gamers who said they weren't gamers and were playing Pokemon Go. Like it was just such a great time, man. I'm very much with you, and it, like a lot of what you said resonated with me so much that like this was just a time when everyone was out and about and just together. It was such a great communal experience, and I don't know if anything's going to be able to replicate that anytime soon. I doubt GTA, but that's just my take. I think you're right though. GTA is going to be the next big like everyone's talking about it game, but I guess we'll have to see. But thank you once again, Kevin, and I am once again sorry that I forgot to do this when I was recording with Jared, but here I am. You're getting the first audio clip of the whole episode because of my mistake, so hopefully this is a small way to make amends with that. But yeah, but this is all from Future Josh. We are diving back into the episode with the rest of the clips. The first one up here is Adam from Respawn Aim Fire, the tier list, a video game podcast, and game sandwich. So here is Adam's recollections of Pokemon Go.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam Gumby from shows such as the tier list of video game podcast, Respawn Aim Fire, and writingforgamesandwich.com. And I have a lot of memories of Pokemon Go. I was like everyone else 10 years ago now, whenever it released, being very excited for the idea of being able to play Pokemon in the real world and going out and hanging out with friends. I was a much younger man, and I just remember at the very beginning when it was, the new hotness and extremely popular, going to the local arboretum because it had a rare Dratini drop or something like that. There was a rare Pokemon there. I think it was Dratini. And that park being absolutely filled with, you would probably be, obviously it's a public park, there are people there, but like 100 people playing Pokemon specifically. It was crazy to see, and it just on like a random Wednesday afternoon. So that was a ton of fun to get in a car, get a couple friends, go out to this hot spot for this game that we were playing, and go around and be around all the other people. The community of it was super cool at that time. And it was a sight to see, something I have not seen in a similar fashion in quite some time. I have not played it a ton since then. I dabbled, obviously, during the beginning, during the pandemic, and all those things like that. I know I never gone to a Pokemon Go Fest, but I do have a crew of friends who are, like a buddy who lived in Chicago who went to Pokemon Go Fest just a few weeks ago, and it still talks about how amazing the community is, and like it's their still like whole existence in their life. So it's fun to be able to, experience that through them secondhand. And I just had a good time. It was a nice, fun, easy way to play with an IP and a thing that I already enjoyed and existed. It's just in a new form, and I thought it was neat and cool. I don't play a ton of mobile games on my phone, so Pokemon Go definitely had a special place in my heart during those early years, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you for sending that in, Adam. Man, exactly what we talked about, the community.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we've been talking about this the whole time.
It was exactly what it was, and it was like I totally understand what he's talking about. I'm also not a big mobile gamer, but Pokemon Go was something I played a lot of, and that's cool that like the Pokemon Fest, like the community is still going strong with it.
Yeah, Go Fest is still like super popular.
That's really cool. Really cool. Thank you for sending that in, Adam. Our next audio clip that we're going to hear is from Dave Jackson from the Tales from the Backlog podcast.
I know that guy.
Yeah, we know that guy.
Hello, Josh, and Still Loading podcast listeners. This is Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, here to share a couple of memories related to Pokemon Go. So when Pokemon Go first released, and it was the closest thing that the world had experienced to world peace and was not the potential/probable surveillance tool that it is today, I was living in South Korea at the time, and I only say this because at the time, South Korea was one of the few countries where you could not play Pokemon Go. Because of some sort of map integration, South Korea is only now allowing Google Maps to fully operate within the country. So that meant no Pokemon Go, except there was one city on the east coast of Korea where the maps overlapped in such a way that Pokemon Go functioned. I'm not sure how it worked, but suddenly everybody who wanted to play was flocking to Sokcho, South Korea on the east coast to play Pokemon Go. Shops ran sales related to Pokemon, people advertised that they had their Pokestops, they had stuff out on the beach, Pokemon Go related, in a country that had no other Pokemon Go, and we took a trip out there just to play it. And it was super fun, just being dumbass tourists walking around trying to catch Pokemon on the street, and it was wonderful. There was a sense of togetherness with a bunch of other people, strangers of all ages, that I really have not felt the same way. It's why I said Pokemon Go was the closest I've felt to a feeling of world peace and prosperity and happiness for everybody. And then that same summer, after the trip out to Sokcho to play Pokemon, because then we went home and the app stopped working. So no more Pokemon Go. And then I went home for the summer and I got to hang out with some friends and we played Pokemon Go. I have a very distinct memory of walking through a park in Columbus, Ohio, and someone shouted from across the park, "There's a Scyther over here!" And everyone ran over to the side of the park where the person was trying to catch that Scyther. And it was just crazy. A community event that has never been matched since then, in my experience. There's nothing even close to the togetherness that I felt with other people. And so I ended up playing the game for a couple of years. Fun fact, when I met my wife for the first time on our first date, she was playing Pokemon Go in the subway station when I first saw her. It was a thing. It's really hard to describe for someone who maybe wasn't there in 2016, 2017, that period of time, what it was like. But like I said, it was the closest I think I may ever experience to a feeling of world peace, as naive as that sounds. So that is me, Dave Jackson. Thank you again, Josh. Check me out on the Tales from the Backlog podcast if you want to hear more of me talking into microphones about video games. See you later.
Thank you so much, Dave. Everyone go check out Tales from the Backlog. Jared, your reactions to that.
I mean, I said it earlier, the world peace, like that, like this feeling of just like everyone coming together in a moment where everyone's just kind of like happy and enjoying a video game and Pokemon as an IP. It's bringing loved ones together. People are coming together and meeting.
All three of us,
like,
dude. You, me, and Dave. We all like met our partners, or somehow our relationships with our respective partners moved meaningly forward via Pokemon Go.
Via Pokemon Go, which is hilarious. It is just a hilarious idea. But yeah, I didn't even think about and consider the fact that this wasn't like accessible everywhere too. Like, so the idea of Pokemon Go already felt like a monumental thing, and living in an area where it's restricted and then part of it opens up, I can't imagine how like popular that would have been, because I can't imagine like being from the inside out and just watching the entire world like scream about Pokemon and being like, I can't have it yet. Wait, except this small area of where I'm at has it. Like, we all have to flood to this and play this game, which is incredible. That is awesome.
Man, it's just funny how many of the beats that Dave talks about are beats that you and I experience. It's just blowing my mind. And it does bring up a point, though, that something like, how the rollout of the game, because the game, when it launched on July 6, 2016, was Australia, New Zealand, and the US. Those were the three countries. So apparently in Australia and New Zealand, it came out like a day or so before or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But then, like, it wasn't until like 7 days later, a week later, it hit Germany, and then a day after that, the United Kingdom.
It's like a slowly trickled out to everywhere else.
And the vast majority of the world did get the game in 2016. It wasn't until January 24th, 2017, when South Korea, as we learned from Dave's here, finally got it. So it took them about 6 months, a little over 6 months to get it. Funnily enough, though, there's 3 more countries that had rollouts longer than South Korea. All the rest, and I'm talking like there's an easy like 30 or 40 countries, all from 2016 listed, countries and territories. It's crazy. But after 2016 ends, you have South Korea in January 2017, which is basically the same time frame. It's less than a calendar year after the launch. But then September 11th, 2018, Russia gets it.
Wow.
June 3rd, 2021, Turkey got it.
Oh my
gosh.
And
I guess problematically, because now who owns the company? October 12th, 2024, Saudi Arabia got the game.
Wow. People out there have only been playing Pokemon Go for 2 years, which is
at least through normal means. I'm sure they found ways around it with like, VPNs and shit.
Yeah.
But that's wild.
The other thing real quick that I wanted to point out with that Adam had said too, and Dave had brought this up, right? We talk about like events happening and it being an event, but this wasn't just like weekends or raids. Like Adam said, it was like every day.
A summer.
It was a whole summer, every random Monday, Tuesday. It was random days that was like floods of people every single day. It wasn't just because there was like a raid event. It wasn't just because it was the weekend. This was every day. Streets were crowded with people playing Pokemon Go.
It's not, I mean, the fact that I think I joked about it earlier in the episode. I don't know if I brought up the joke in the episode. I was joking with you off mic that it was going to be the tagline for the episode, but Pokemon Go to the polls. Like they were using Pokemon Go to encourage younger people to go vote, which is just it was everywhere. It's nuts. Our next audio clip is from Danny B from Playlog Podcast, which when I heard that I was like, oh shoot, I was like, play along, Jared.
I know. I love Danny and like his play log. If you say it quick enough, it sounds like play along. It's so funny.
So we are going to hear from Danny B from Playlog Podcast.
Happy anniversary, Pokemon Go. Wow, 10 years is insane. Hey everybody, I'm CG Danny B from Playlog Podcast, and I like talking about indie games, but I also like remembering that Pokemon exists. I remember when Pokemon Go officially released, and it was back in college. We got the update on Instagram that Australia just got the game, and the US wasn't getting it for another 24 hours. And we sat there thinking, how do we get to play this? And it turns out there was a tutorial on how to set our phones to Australia so we could download it from the Google Play Store. And we did. At like 1 a.m, downloaded the game and went on a walk in our local park. And it was strange because there was nobody else out there except this old couple who just likes to go out at night. And as we passed by, they saw us all on our phones. We're like, what are you guys doing up this late? And we said, oh, we're catching Pokemon. She's like, what does that mean? And we're showing her the app, and we're still learning how this whole thing works. But we're just demonstrating like, oh yeah, so you go a stop, and when you see this, like, oh, there's a Pokemon out there. You do a little mini game to throw the ball. She's like, that's so cute. Our son Gregory's going to love that. And that was this first moment of like a bonding between Pokemon Go with this old couple that I will probably never meet again in my life. But it was so fascinating to see that connection come up. And then as the days would go on, I would go on a walk in that park during the daytime, of course, and I would see people roaming around on their phones. And I'm like, no, obviously this is just people on their phone. They're not playing Pokemon Go. This is a niche thing. I'm the only one doing this. As I round the corner of our local park where there's this big kind of Coliseum amphitheater kind of situation, as I see a lure is activated. So somebody has made it that, hey, extra Pokemon are showing up. I might as well swing around the corner. And in this field are just like 50 people all on their phones chanting about how they just found a Bulbasaur. And I'm like, you know what? I found my people. We're all here. Pokemon Go was such a great time. And yeah, I fell out of it like maybe 2 years after the fact. But I have such fond memories of playing this game. God, maybe I should get back into it.
Thank you, Danny B. Man, I could that specifically the story of the old couple, right? Like that happened to me too. I remember walking at our park. It was during the height of it, though. It wasn't like. First off, how cool was it that he switched his phone over to Australia time just so he could get the game early?
Yeah,
that is commitment. That is commitment.
It really is.
So that really resonated with me. But also like the old couple, like I said, when we went to our local park, I remember there was this old couple who were playing though. I don't think they were into Pokemon. They got into it because they saw everyone else getting into it. They're like, I'll try this out. And they would go for walks every night and play Pokemon Go together as a couple. It's really cute.
There's another podcast that I listen to. It's a Pokemon podcast. And one of the guys on there talks about how his parents, which are probably in the like late 50s, 60s, they still play Pokemon Go. They have a nightly walk together and they go and play Pokemon Go and they catch Pokemon. And again, it's wild that I think the only other time we saw this was like Wii Sports and Nintendo Wii, where you have like 5-year-olds and 80-year-olds that are all playing the same game and enjoying the same experience together. And Pokemon Go being able to like replicate that and also have a thing where it just like everyone can play it. You don't, and that's the thing, is you don't have to have loved Pokemon either. This could be your first experience with Pokemon, and you could still come into this ecosystem as much as someone that had been playing it for the past like 20 years at that point.
It's just such an amazing time, man. I know we've been glazing this thing for like
we really have
all episode, but it just. What to call back to what Dave said and what you said, Jared, it really was just this time where just it felt like the closest we've gotten to world peace. And it's so hyperbolic and cliche, but like we have not gotten to that level of community since.
I mean, I would say yes, but like we are glazing it, sure. But you can see as other people are talking about their anecdotes that there was a shared feeling during this time. And as you
Yeah.
look back at this time, we all kind of had the same shared experience of just like, man, in a time where it feels like people are separated and there's a lot of conflict with one another. When you're thinking back to 2016 in Pokemon Go, where everyone was just like together and happy, and sure, there's probably lots of different stuff going
tons
on.
of stuff going on. Yeah,
for sure. But for a moment in the summer of 2016, it just felt like the world all came together and we're all doing the same thing. I mean, for a worse reason, like COVID was something that the entire world experienced together and had that kind of like the community around the shared experience and all doing the same thing. And Pokemon Go was the same way. We were all kind of doing that around the same time.
Yeah. Man, it's just there was another thought that came to mind, but now I'm blanking. I'm hoping that I can come back to it before we wrap. But our next two, we're not gonna play them back to back, but they are tied together. It's Mike and Neil from Mike Lane and Neil Gilbert. They are from the Switch to the Past podcast. Both of them the hosts of the Switch to the Past podcast, excuse me. They recorded theirs individually though, so I don't know if they reference each other in either of them. We're going to hear from Mike first, and then we'll get our reactions.
Hi there, this is Mike from the Switch to the Past podcast. Josh asked me to talk a little bit about my experience with Pokemon Go, which is now 10 years old, which is an absolute wild fact. When Pokemon Go first came out, I think it was around June or July of 2016, and I was working at an office, and I was kind of near the end of my time there. I think I was gonna put my 2 weeks in, or I was getting close to it, and so yeah, I was looking for some not work to do, and Pokemon Go came across my desk. A friend of mine was playing it, told me I need to get on it. I didn't really understand what it was necessarily. I also didn't have the greatest data plan to at the time, so I was mostly just playing inside at the office. But for me, I had a bit of a weird feeling with it. I was a little bit of a mixed feeling to adopt it, because I thought that, I had been in the Pokemon universe this whole time, and these other people were kind of like posers. That was like my thought at the time. I was like, well, like, I have my Pokemon binder. I have Pokemon X. Like, I'm into the new games. Pokemon Go is just for casuals. And obviously, I did pick it up relatively quickly after that. And Neil, co-host Neil of the Switch to the Past podcast, Neil got me even more invested into it because he was really into it with our friend group, and we would go to these parks nearby our house, and we'd all get together and hang out and catch Pokemon together. We'd go on raids later on, and it was a really unique and crazy experience of just like every night meeting up in the summer, hanging out, catching Pokemon. We also did this in New York. Him and I went on a little trip to New York. I had just kind of started playing Pokemon Go, and one of my first things that I caught was a Blastoise that he was just dying to try and catch or level up his Wartortle to get. So he was really jealous that day that I got like a level 12 CP Blastoise or something because I was so low level. But no, Pokemon Go has been still is a part of my life. I still play it from time to time, but that summer of 2016, nothing will get to that level again. I would say that was a unique period in history where we just were all on our phones together outside catching Pokemon. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you very much, Mike. Jared, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, it's funny, Mike, because I feel like I felt a little bit of the same way when this first came out, where it's just kind of like, I feel like mobile gaming also had like is like the casual gamers thing when people are playing on mobile. But I remember not like really, but when people are like, "Whoa, there's so many Pokemon," I'm just like, oh, if you only knew. This is only the original ones. There's so many more Pokemon that aren't even in the game that you don't know about. So it was funny. I kind of had that mentality a little bit too, but it's as we're listening to more of these, it's like dawning on me that it's just like, man, this is just like old people being like, oh, the good old days. Remember the good old days? But it's giving off that energy. but yeah, I mean, it's like parks. Parks were like the biggest thing. Everyone went to a park their first kind of time around Pokemon Go. They're always around parks and doing around stuff, which is kind of where obviously the stops were. But yeah,
I think also like I didn't have that hipster mentality with this, but normally I do. Trust me. If you listen to my my when I'm over on Talk Tuesday with my buddy Andrew on his Twitch channel, The Experience Point, I'm usually pretty hipsterish about certain things. So it's surprising I was not really about this, but I do kind of agree with you that it is very much like old people were like getting nostalgia boners.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Well, I think my thought earlier that I said I had and I kind of lost. It's still not 100% there, but I think what I was trying to get at, like listening to all these recollections and everything, all these memories surrounding this, and we look back and we wish that the world could still be like the summer of Pokemon Go in 2016, or still have that feeling. And I do think more than anything, what this shows us that like how important community is for humanity, like not just because it feels good in Pokemon Go, but like there's a reason why you go to like conventions with people who have similar interests to you, because you are communing with your peers, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but like video game like conventions is just church for a specific for a fandom, right?
Yeah.
Like you are gathering with a group of like-minded individuals to celebrate something that brings you all together, that's like larger than you individually. And I don't mean like in a cosmic fucking supernatural way, but I mean in a very human and community driven way. And I think Pokemon Go really just kind of exemplifies that. The reason we miss this so much is because we don't have this now. We could have these community spaces, but we don't have people all, like so many people all going out all the time. We live in such isolated bubbles. This is a tangent, and I'm not well enough researched on it to like continue this tangent, but I do think it's worth bringing up, is that one of the things that like us as Americans suffer a lot. One of the reasons Americans in general are more lonely than other like countries and whatnot is that we don't really have third spaces anymore. We have our home, we have our work, but there's no place for us to gather as a community. And like parks are like that, bars are kind of like that, but even then, like now, especially with the advent of like cell phones, like people don't go out to bars because they don't want to be filmed all the time. That's a larger topic. It's not really for this, but like Pokemon Go just makes me not necessarily think of that with like the technology, but it reminds me of it just because this episode's really just reminding me how important a third space is and how much we've replaced third spaces with online communities, whether it's Discord or otherwise. And don't get me wrong, I like Discord, I like that, but I can't keep up with Discord. It's a 24/7 third space, and I can't be in that. I don't have the mental capacity to interact in Discord servers in that way. I don't get how other people do it, man. There's some people I know who are active all day long. I'm like, I can't do that. That's why I'm never active on Discord servers. I will join, and then people are like, why don't you share your podcasts with it? I'm like, because I don't interact with anyone. I don't want to be that guy that only shows up to share my shit. If I'm going to share my shit, it has to involve someone who runs the server, because then they're directly involved, or it has to be a server that I interact with somewhat frequently.
I'm the same way, where like the white dots, I'm just like anxious seeing the sea and just like, oh, you've missed out. And I'm just like, oh, and I'm good at like hyper focusing on one, but then I'll be like super active in someone else's Discord, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have a Discord. I probably should be like interacting with my own community, huh? I probably should be doing that more often. And like juggling that I feel the same way. It's also hard for me too.
And that's why I kind of want like the benefit of having in-person third spaces is like you don't have that. You focus on the conversation in front of you, the person that you're interacting with, the Pokemon you're hunting with the friend next to you, like just right there. All right, let's move over to the other half of the Switch to the Past podcast. We have Neil Gilbert for this one.
What's up, Josh? It's Neil here from the Switch to the Past podcast, formerly the GameCube Was Cool podcast, of course. Thank you so much for inviting me on to talk about my memories of Pokemon Go. I can't believe that it's been 10 years since Pokemon Go came out, 2016. That's honestly crazy that another decade has gone by. But I remember when this game came out perfectly well. I mean, I was in college at the time, and it honestly felt like that time in Jurassic Park where like the T-Rex is coming because you can see the ripples in the water. That's kind of what I remember feeling because we started to see news updates about this game coming out in other regions like in Japan, and they were starting to test it in certain markets, and they were expecting it to be this massive game to come out in the summer, and of course it was a massive game. I remember starting to see kids in my neighborhood playing it. They were walking around the neighborhood. I drive by and yell at them from my car like, "You guys catching Pokemon?" And they were. And shortly after that, I of course got the game and instantly was hooked on it. Loved walking around, seeing what random common Pokemon would pop up in my neighborhood, all the Caterpies and the Pidgeys and Bulbasaurs and all the grass types and all that stuff. And then meeting up with my friends and going down to the lake here in Toronto. And then we were able to I met up with Mike, my co-host, and he caught a Blastoise on his first night. And then, just seeing thousands of people in these parks and city centers, telling you where to go catch a Cubone or whatever. It was just such a fun time. I only ever played the game in its first iteration. Like I never battled with anybody. I don't know if I ever did even try to capture a gym. Like I think my sole purpose of this game was just to walk around my neighborhood and try and catch all 150 Pokemon. I'm a bit of a purist. I only really care about the first 150 Pokemon. So once they started adding more features to the game and adding more Pokemon to the game, it didn't hook me anymore. I was perfectly happy just playing the game with the 150 that I grew up with. And but that summer is just so special to me. I still remember walking around my school and my neighborhood and my city, just catching Pokemon, listening to a bunch of records on my phone that I still listen to this day. And then it'll make me think about the summer of 2016 playing Pokemon Go, just feeling like I was 6 years old again when Pokemon first came to North America. Yeah, I really hope that something like that can come along again. It was such a fun time. It got me out of the house, seeing my friends in person again. Everyone was looking forward to get together after school and work and just sit in a park and wait for Pokemon to show up. It kind of felt like fishing. But yeah, those are my memories of the game. Love Pokemon Go. Can't say enough good things about it. Hopefully something like that comes along soon. But thank you so much for inviting me on, and hopefully this works for your show. And I look forward to talking to you real soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, Neil. Man, I resonated with that. The fishing analogy is so good.
I didn't even think about that. I'm not someone that loves fishing, but I understand the idea of just kind of like this. You're not, I mean, you're going there for the fishing, but again, you're going there for the community aspect, right? You're just going there with people you love to hang out, to just sit and chat and waiting for the thing to happen. And it's the same thing here, where especially early on, where you're just kind of like sitting, waiting for Pokemon to spawn, and you're like, I can't close the app, so I can't look at social media. And we have nothing else to do, so I guess I'll have a conversation with this person next to me, and we'll just have a conversation like, oh, there's the thing that spawned, so I'll go get the Pokemon, and I go back to the conversation, right? I understand, but no, the fishing analogy or the comparison was very apt.
Absolutely, man. Like that fishing analogy was perfect, and I also like bringing up the Blastoise story, just like Mike did. That was some good synergy right there. That's why I had to do this back to back. I knew there was going to be some connection, and there it was. I also really like I'm with Neil on I'm a purist, original 151. That's it. But no, I understand there's a lot of really good ones after the fact. Yeah, man, I really resonate with both Mike and Neil's. Like, hanging out after work. I remember like going to parks that I would never go to, like miles and miles away. I even remember also like going down to my grandfather on my dad's side passed away in 2016. And I remember going down, we spread his ashes in the Gulf, and that was kind of like how we kind of laid him to rest. And I went down to Florida that summer, and that was like when we did that, there was so many new Pokemon that that's obviously not the important reason I was there, but it was still kind of nice. It kind of took the sting off a little bit, but just going around and exploring different areas and like just meeting up with, it was just cool. That whole summer. I don't know how many times we're going to say it, but it's just awesome.
The whole summer. I never like shame people for being Gen 1er, especially with this too. I think there's like some beauty in getting something you need from something and letting it go when it doesn't kind of like work for you too. And I think it's good for Pokemon, because it's like I think you can, I talked about Pokemon being for everybody, but I think you can definitely like age out of it and have a thing where you're nostalgic about and you're like, this is familiar and I recognize this and I love this. I mean, we see the same thing with like new Pokemon starters that they come out, anytime Pokemon shows off their new generation, the Gen 10 starters, people are like, oh, gross, these don't look like Pokemon, they're awful. And I think that's a fine reaction, but I think that reaction is happening because you don't have a connection with the things yet.
Yeah.
And like for me, I sold my soul to Pokemon, so I've stuck with Pokemon throughout the entirety of Pokemon, since playing it in Red and Blue when I was 6 years old. So I have countless different attachments to different generations of Pokemon and different memories with them too. But yeah, I think there's something beautiful about being like, I like this. It had this thing that I was familiar with. I'm not really attached to this other part, and I'm fine with that. I'm gonna walk away, and I got what I needed out of this, and now I don't really need it anymore.
And like at least I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me, there was like no hard feelings about it either. Like I understood like time, like I can't stick to my tastes and preferences. I also think there's a beauty of in being open-minded enough to allow something new to create new nostalgia for you. I think that's something that I kind of that's helped me with like aging, I guess, because I'm 37 now, so like I'm not like old, but I'm also not young anymore. I'm not like, in my 20s and all that other shit. But like something that's helped me like kind of not mourn the passage of time as much as maybe other people is that I get to look back at nostalgia for different. I look forward to the nostalgia I'm creating. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I love that because I've been having that perspective in life. I don't know if it's just because I'm going to have a child soon, and I think having a child makes you just constantly overly aware of your own mortality. You're just like, oh, you're watching this thing like age as you get older too. But this idea that you can have nostalgia, everyone references nostalgia as a kid, but I think you can have nostalgia for any point in your life. You can have nostalgia for 5 years ago. You can have nostalgia for like a year ago, right? And if you have fond attachments to memories of those times, then you can be nostalgic for it and still look back fondly on those times.
I mean, this episode, we're nostalgic for Pokemon Go. I was 27. I'm not a kid. I was not a kid when this game came out. I was a full formed adult at that point. Like, and I still have. And you know what? This brought me to remember that I touched on it before. You know, the thing about like the thought I had about the good feeling and the good times and the nostalgia around Pokemon Go. Remember the quote from The Office with Ed? What's Ed Helms' quote? I forget it. Andy Bernard. That's his character's name. Where he has that quote where he's like, "I wish there was some way to know
you're in the good old times before you're in the good old times." Yeah,
I wish there was some way to know you were in the good times while you were there instead of like knowing it. I'm paraphrasing. I'm butchering it, but like, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old times before they pass or something like that.
Yeah,
and I do think there was an element of Pokemon Go, and you're kind of hearing it with all these audio clips that have been sent in, that everyone knew how special it was when it was happening.
Yeah.
Like you felt it. You knew it was something special happening. You felt how you knew it was the good times. You knew that that summer was something special. And I think that's a really cool thing. Those moments are rare. Those are very rare when you can know you're in the good old times while you're still in the good old times. And I mean, we knew it.
Yeah, even after that summer, I probably didn't realize it, but I knew that like, oh yeah, I'll probably be talking about this 10 years from now. And look, here I am talking about it 10 years from now.
Well, we go from the Switch to the Past podcast to the Old Switcheroo podcast. This is another Mike, but it's Mike from the Old Switcheroo podcast.
Hey Josh, Mike from the Old Switcheroo podcast here, and I wanted to share the story of my favorite time I caught a Pokemon in Pokemon Go. So I missed out on when the game first came out because I didn't have a smartphone. So when everyone else was out there in the thousands running through parks, I was sitting at home. I upgraded to a smartphone a couple months later and picked a plan in part because I knew I was going to want Pokemon Go. So, for people that don't remember early on with Pokemon Go, Pokemon were very much just in certain areas. And so at the time, I was living in Tennessee, surrounded by grass types. I'd head back home to California, there'd be a bunch of fire types, there'd be a bunch of rock types. So, early on in playing the game, I was able to get plenty of Charmanders because they were all over California. I was able to get plenty of Bulbasaurs. I had this gap where Squirtle should be, where I'd seen like one in a gym. So I kind of knew that they existed as far as what my Pokedex said. But I had blank squares after that. I'd never seen a Wartortle, I'd never seen a Blastoise, and I still didn't even have a single Squirtle. And so I had found out that there was someone else in my department, a couple doors down from my office, who was also playing a lot of Pokemon Go. This guy, John, who I didn't really know. But because I'd heard he was playing, and I had heard that somewhere in town, there was a park that had what was a Pokemon nest, where there was a lot of just a single type of Pokemon. And this one was supposedly a Squirtle nest. So I had said to him, hey, end of the day, do you want to go try and check out what's supposed to be a Squirtle nest? He said sure. And so, end of the day, I drive me and him over across town to where there's supposed to be some Pokemon, some Squirtles. We get over to this park, we walk around a bit, get some other stuff, see a deer, talk, nice time out, not a Squirtle in sight. As we go to leave the park, I start up my car, and as I turn the key in the ignition, I feel the key give. And it's bent about halfway in the ignition with the car running. And I kind of look at that and I'm like, well, that's not good, but I've got a spare key at home. I just have to get there. So I just can't stop the car. Not a big deal. But as I start trying to drive out of the park, and it's a big park, suddenly on Pokemon Go, we see a silhouette of a Pokemon we don't have. It's the silhouette of a Blastoise. We're not sure where exactly it is in the park, just that it's sort of close to where we are, so we start driving around through the park. And ultimately, I make one turn and go down another small road in the park, and suddenly on my game, I see a Caterpie, and right behind it, I see a Blastoise. And I remember yelling, there's the Blastoise. He doesn't have it. He yells back at me, where? Behind the Caterpie. I still don't see it. Get out of the car. And he hops out of the car so he can get close enough to reach it while I'm sitting in the car catching that Blastoise. And he and I do both catch it. He hops back in the car and we finally leave the park. Still didn't have any Squirtles. Still hadn't even seen a Wartortle. But then I was sitting on one fully evolved Blastoise. And that whole experience, from being one of the first times I hung out with my now friend John, and just the excitement of stumbling upon that Blastoise at a point where it was not at all expected and where you could really stumble upon something brand new like that, remains one of my favorite moments of the game, to the point that it's now been almost 10 years. I never stopped playing. I still have that not terribly good Blastoise sitting there ever since October 7th, 2016, because it was one of the most fun Pokemon I've ever caught.
God damn, that was a great story.
What a story.
That
the key out was on the edge of my seat, and I was like, where's this going to go? Jump out of a moving vehicle kind of situation.
Yeah. Dude, like, I'll be honest, Mike. So Mike's. I mean, we don't know how long the last one's going to be. There's one more after Mike's. We don't know how long that one's going to be. But that was when I saw it was what was it? Nearly 5 minutes. It was like over 4 minutes long. I'm like
4:54.
Oh man, this is going to be this. This is a long one. But dude, I can't speak for Jared, but at least I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was so engaged in that.
The storytelling was phenomenal. I was here for this journey to find a Squirtle, and again, like I said, harboring Pokemon Go, creating relationships and friendships, an individual that you didn't really know that ends up becoming a good friend.
Yeah,
and you're still playing Pokemon actively today. You kept that Blastoise, which is really cool. It's just awesome.
Absolutely incredible, man. Like, and it's so similar to like my Pikachu story in essence, right? Like
being in weird places and weird times of the day to catch Pokemon.
Oh man. That's wild. Your key almost breaks into the car. Oh, that's insane. That is wild.
That is wild.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was such a great story. I really loved listening to that one. Our final audio clip, Jen from the Fun and Games podcast. Shout out to Jen. Thank you for sending this in. Let's hear what they have to say.
When Pokemon Go launched in July of 2016, I was working as a children's musician for a company that over the summer we would do all of our classes outside in Central Park, which felt kind of perfect. I'm a huge fan of Pokemon. I already used my phone anyway to check in families and kids for the classes, win-win situation. Except I only had 15 minutes between classes, and if I needed to clean toys, talk to anybody, use the bathroom in the park, all that time was lost. And I needed data and battery for my job, not for catching Pokemon. And I was paying for my own data through Google at the time, which got expensive quickly. I've since switched to Verizon. But that being said, I pretty much had to quickly set for myself the rule that I would only try to catch Pokemon in my neighborhood from home so I could charge my phone or maybe theoretically work a little bit off of Wi-Fi. Fortunately, my apartment building at the time was next to a park in Upper Manhattan. So one night, I start catching Pokemon. I make my way out of my apartment. I move down the stairs. I'm catching, various Pokemon in the building. I walk outside. This is probably 9:30 at night, so it's fully dark outside. And as somebody who's lived in New York for a very long time, I'm pretty proud, actually, of my spatial awareness. I don't typically bump into people, even if I'm on my phone. Accidents do happen, though. And I'm keeping an eye on my space around me. I'm catching Pokemon. I'm chasing things here and there, doing my best, and enjoying just what is the joy that happened during Pokemon Go that first summer. But following through, I then stopped for a moment, went to check my surroundings, put my phone down, and holding that rectangle in front of my face, perfectly blocked the skunk that was in the park. There's actually a number of skunks in the park near where I live, but this one I didn't see until I put my phone down. Fortunately, all I did was see it. I think it might have been climbing down a pile of something. All I know is, to my memory, its tail was higher than its head, and I have never run out of a situation faster than that. There's a set of stairs that go from the park up to street level, and it was like the opening from Ghostbusters. I was just, dignity and coordination were forgotten as I just ran, hands on the steps, getting myself out of there. I then had to set a new rule for myself. No Pokemon Go. No, not at all.
Dignity and coordination were thrown out.
Oh, I love that, man. What a good story. What I'm learning is just like, now I want to just like talk to everybody I've met and have them just tell me like a Pokemon Go story. I was like, right? I know you got one. I know you got one in the pocket. Just tell me a Pokemon Go story, because the general consensus and the lived experience was we all went out at weird times of the night to catch Pokemon, and that's just kind of what happened. Just so funny.
Dude, I love it. I love these stories, and I that's why I wanted to solicit audio clips from the community, because like this is something that we already like I mentioned before, like part of the preservation is also the contextual preservation. Like we can look at the game and play the game and play the mechanics, but unless you understand what it meant to the group of people that played it at the time that it was at the height of its like cultural cachet. I understand it's still very popular now, maybe even more a bigger user base now because it's been more years. I don't know, but it doesn't have the same. It's not drawing the headlines. It's not doing the same thing that it was doing back in 2016. Just what an incredible series of like stories and events, and I sincerely thank you to everyone who submitted these. Like that was
they're great.
I was being completely honest, I was a little worried. I'm like, I knew I wanted to do this, but like just listening to audio clips, I wasn't quite sure how this was going to work out.
Sure.
I loved this. This was so fun. I'm with you, Jared. I feel like we could do a whole episode on just audio clips from other people.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I know you didn't listen to these beforehand, but like it felt like they were perfectly like organized to follow points that we made before we listened to them. It was kind of crazy that they just like worked out that way.
I'm dead serious. I literally I did not listen to any of these either. I put them in the specific order because I knew I wanted to end with Jen or Mike from the Old Switcheroo podcast, but like I don't know why. It was literally just all vibes. It was literally just vibes. I'm like, I feel like this person following this person, and it just kind of all worked out that way, man. What a great series of stories. Thank you to everyone who submitted clips. I will include links to everyone's stuff that you heard here in the show notes. Please go support them. They are all wonderful humans, and I can't thank them enough for setting aside a few minutes just to send us an audio clip for this. But we are almost at 2 hours. After editing, it's going to be shorter than this. So we're going to wrap up this episode, Jared. I think that's a great way, because otherwise we're just going to keep repeating our points all over again.
Yeah. I think we did a good job here of summarizing how great that summer was with Pokemon.
The summer of 2016, man, there has not been another summer like it yet. History. I hope there's another summer like it in the future. I don't know what if Pokemon or otherwise, I don't know. I would just love to see something like that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jared, that will do it for this episode of Still Loading. Thank you once again for joining me, my friend. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for setting aside so much time to reminisce and talk about Pokemon Go and listen to other people's stories. Where can the good people find you online, and what would you like to promote?
Yeah, well, first of all, Josh, thanks so much for having me on. It was, I mean, I already love talking about Pokemon, and I do love Pokemon Go. And after listening to everybody and talking with you, there's a sense of like hope and joy that I feel like we haven't felt in a long time. And a lot of that could just be reminiscing again on the good old times. But I think it reignites that hope of just like how good it is to feel together. And like this sense of like community and togetherness is not lost. It may feel like it, but it's not forever, right? It may not be forever. So I think just going through all of these anecdotes and fun stories and shared experiences really solidified that. And I have a more positive outcome after this episode that I did before. But yeah, you can find me anywhere you're listening to the podcast. Wherever you're listening to the podcast right now, Play Along Podcast. You can check us out there. We're essentially a video game book club where we get a game. Me, myself, my other two co-hosts, Kai and Bed. We each take turns picking games. We then break them down into sections and come together to talk about those sections specifically. We do a lot of whole other random stuff with video games. We have a series called Get Wrecked that Josh was on. We had mentioned at the top of the show. That's all about swapping video game recommendations with people, which is a ton of fun. Yeah, you can find us anywhere, and you're bound to find something that you like. We play through a ton of different games, so check it out.
I will include links to Play Along in the show notes, and obviously Jared on social media and all that good stuff. So please go check it out there. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we talked about the negative stuff at the top of the episode, because there was just so much to love about this game afterwards. And it's a bummer that the more recent news kind of puts a bit of a stain on it, but that will still not change how great the summer of 2016 was. But all right, for myself, you can follow me on Blue Sky at stillloadingpodcast.com, on Instagram at stillloadingpod, on Twitch at stillloadingpod, where I stream whenever the hell I'm able to or want to. Lately, it's not been at all, but you never know. If you like the show, if you like this episode and you want to support the show, please consider giving it a 5-star rating or review on whichever podcasting app you use. It helps more people find the show, and it pleases the algorithm gods or something like that. Praise to the algorithm. No, actually, no, fuck the algorithm, but still help me out, please. Please, I'm begging you. There's also a Patreon, though, patreon.com/stillloadingpod. For $1 a month, you get all the episodes a little bit earlier with better audio quality, as well as access to patron voting rights, which help guide the direction of the show. For $3 a month, you get everything I mentioned previously, plus patron shoutouts, which you heard at the beginning of this episode. For $4 a month, you get everything I mentioned prior, plus 2 mini bonus episodes. And for $5 a month, Sorry, that's too many bonus episodes every month. And for $5 a month, you get all the previous years plus access to my monthly movie podcast, which right now, the time this episode comes out, is called Still Muppeting. It's the only Muppet movie podcast for me and the Nostalgia Marcanon podcast. Play the music, light the lights, and we talk about the Muppets on Still Muppeting tonight. And that is all over at patreon.com/stillloadingpod. What will the theme of the movie podcast be after Muppets are done? I don't know. I was thinking of a Statham movie series called Still Statham. I don't know.
I love that.
I'm still not sure. Also, Still Askew. If I want to do Kevin Smith's View Askew universe, I don't know. There's still lots of ideas. So you'll have to just find out what that will be. But that's it. That is all the time I have for you on this episode of Still Loading. Thank you all so much for listening. Jared, thank you once again for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was a great time.
And with all that said, listeners, I will see you all next time.